It's pretty interesting. So Saints tight end Juwan Johnson said that he sees a pretty stark comparison between Derek Carr and Drew Brees, like I said. So this is what he had to say. He said, it honestly felt like we've been working with Derek for quite a while now, and so OTAs was really good, really smooth. He's given me more of a feel because he's an older guy. He's given me a lot of Drew going into the huddle, commanding the huddle. The guys are gravitating to him. These are things I've seen how Drew conducted the huddle, how Drew conducted the offense and things like that. So it gives me similar feels, and so I'm really excited about what Derek has and how he's going to move this offense. Some great words coming from a wide receiver turned tight end, a brand new quarterback, and you're giving him this praise of
who is this guy?
Of Drew Brees.
Who is the guy, Juwan Johnson? Okay, and how can he speak like this when in 2020, the last year of Drew Brees' career, he was in the huddle there 10 times. he caught 4 balls on 10 targets. That was it. I mean, I don't know. How can he make those kinds of comparisons? He hardly played with Drew Brees. I'm surprised by this. I don't give it much credence.
You really?
Yeah.
So I want to know if based on that,
Juwan Johnson is. He did okay last year, right? He had 42 receptions.
Yeah.
500 yards. Right. Catch percentage was 65%.
And that's with the.
So he was
Andy
okay,
Dalton
and that's when he moved
Winston.
to. That's when he moved to tight end. So, I mean, how big a guy is he? He was 231 pounds. He's a small tight end, right? I mean, when you think about it, he was a wide receiver before. That didn't work out too well for him. He had 13 catches last and 4 in 2020. So. I hardly think of him as a big name making comments about big quarterbacks and how they fit in various offenses. It's I'm surprised there were quotes that this was picked up by the sports line.
Well, no, I think he had a pretty good year for a third-year player. He had 7 touchdowns last season. That's with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton, who you don't really like, he wasn't good, but he didn't have an absolutely abysmal year. He didn't have a Jameis like 2019 year where he threw 30 interceptions. I think he went 18 touchdowns, 9 picks. He went 6 and 8, 18 touchdowns, 9 picks, 66% completion percentage, nearly 3,000 yards. Jameis Winston didn't start off too hot. We saw what Jameis Winston looked like. You were questioning why they don't even put Jameis Winston in anymore. Andy Dalton didn't have a terrible year. I think that's why. But with Juwan Johnson, I'm not saying that Derek Carr is going to be Drew Brees because Drew Brees is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I will say this. Derek Carr is going to be motivated to go win some games. And especially in a division like the NFC South, where the division is, maybe one step up from a high school football program. I really don't think the Saints should have much trouble. Really, the only barrier is the Carolina Panthers, who have a rookie quarterback.
I think the Saints will win that division. I think in addition to adding Carr, which is definitely a step up for them at quarterback,
I agree.
They have a decent defense, right? They have a good defense, so they'll have that too. So with Carr helping to improve the offense and the defense consistently good, they should win the division.
And something else that I'm going to say is, we make the excuses for Daniel Jones all the time about how he had all these coordinators, all these head coaches throughout his tenure so far as an NFL quarterback. Derek Carr has dealt with the same thing.
Yeah.
Derek Carr has dealt with, 5 OCs and 6 head coaches over his 9 years with the Raiders. And also, a couple years ago, most of the picks of 2019, first-round picks of the Raiders in John Gruden's tenure, their other, I think, out of the NFL are in prison. So they have no one from that 20, it's something like that. And I think, honestly, last year could have been what Baker Mayfield had when they got OBJ. Derek Carr did not have a good year by all accounts. 24 touchdowns, 14 picks, 3,500 yards. He had 60.8% completion percentage. Could it be that he was looking too much at Devontae Adams, like Baker Mayfield was looking too much at OBJ? And that was OBJ wanted out of Cleveland. Baker Mayfield got, curb stomped by Cleveland. And the Raiders, it's sort of the same thing, except Devontae Adams was sending signals like he wanted out of Las Vegas, so it kind of was like that situation. And Derek Carr got benched for the last 2 games for Jarrett Stidham and had to leave. So I think we could be seeing something like that, where maybe Derek Carr got his buddy back from college, He sort of force-fed him. It was pretty good because Davante Adams was a phenomenal receiver last year, but it could have been this force-feeding to him where it was sort of like the Aaron Rodgers, and screw it, Davante Adams is out there somewhere, except Aaron Rodgers is a significantly better quarterback than Derek Carr. So maybe Derek Carr wasn't fully comfortable in this offense because we saw what Derek Carr did with an interim head coach in Rich Bisaccia. They made the playoffs and had a chance to beat, was it the Bengals in the was it the wild card round?
I feel sorry for what's his last name?
Rich Bisaccia.
Bisaccia.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we got the lights are flickering. The lights are flickering for some breaking news, which we'll get into after this topic.
I can't wait to hear what it is.
More signings, which we mentioned this name earlier. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay.
So I will say this. Derek Carr should be significantly better this season because he doesn't have the 32nd rank. He doesn't have a terrible offensive line. He doesn't have over his career, which was the 32nd ranked defense. I think the Saints have a better defense than 32nd in the league. They have a better offensive line than the Raiders did last season. So a lot of their problems are fixed. You also have Alvin Kamara in the backfield, which is good because he's a receiving and he's a running back. I don't think he's going to be in prison. The tight end situation and the Hunter Renfrow, I'm not sure. You have Chris Olave.
Michael Thomas is still there.
Michael Thomas is coming back. Chris Olave showed a tremendous promise. Juwan Johnson, who was your second leading receiver last year with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, he's still there. So I think Derek Carr is going to have a phenomenal year. My expectations for Derek Carr and the Saints, Derek Carr should go about 4,200 yards. I expect 30 touchdowns, and I'll go 12 interceptions with 64% completion percentage. Saints go 9-8, make the playoffs. They lead the NFC South.
Well, I think they're going to win the division.
They should. Yeah. They should.
They might even be able to win it at 8-9.
They very well could have. So I'm not too sure, but that is my prediction for the Saints and Derek Carr going into next year. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.